So, I saw Robin Hood today, the new version with Russell Crowe and directed by Ridley Scott. There's a collaboration we've seen a number of times, probably most famously in Gladiator. This is their latest. I have to say, I liked it. I know it's getting mixed reviews, but it seems to me that these days everything gets mixed reviews, unless it's an overblown movie about hippie space kittens fighting the army. Anyway, Robin Hood isn't exactly what I expected. I expected a sort of fictionalized historical account, kind of like King Arthur, where they showed a kinda sorta accurate portrayal of the real person the legend was built upon. Instead, it's actually kinda like a Robin Hood prequel, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. There's a few big stars like Russell Crowe, Cate Blanchett, William Hurt, and Max von Sydow, and some rising stars like Mark Strong. The acting in it is fairly good, though I think Russell Crowe's accent keeps changing. Looks like that's a general problem with actors that play Robin Hood. I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, the plot is fairly simple. In England, everything's gone to shit. King Richard is off fighting in the Crusades, and he left his mother in charge. His mother is doing her best to keep her youngest son, Prince John, in check, but he's a total douche. He dumps his wife for a hot French chick, not that you can blame him too much, 'cause damn. Anyway, the movie then follows King Richard, who's returning, but is busy killing French people along the way, so he can come home with some gold and shit for his efforts. Now, here's where I thought the movie might do something different for a change and accurately portray what happens to Richard, because it's much more interesting in real life than in the movies. In most Robin Hood stories, King Richard shows up at the end to make everything better, and he's usually someone awesome, like James Bond or Captain Picard, but in reality he never returned from the Crusades. King Richard the Lionheart was actually killed by a young boy who struck him in the arm with an arrow. Although the arrow didn't exactly hit a vital area, the doctor who tended to him fucked up and the wound became gangrenous, killing the king. One of the last things he did was pardon the boy, but his men killed the kid after he died anyway. They should have killed the doctor. Anyway, the movie offers a compromise. He's killed by an arrow, but just by some dude, and no gangrene or anything. His right-hand man, Robert Locksley, is to deliver the bad news back home, but he's ambushed by the French, who have a mole, Sir Geoffrey, who's feeding the French information. Locksley and his men are slaughtered, but the ambushers are killed by Robin Longstride, an archer who, after finding out the king was dead, decided this was a pretty good time to get the fuck back to England. Locksley gives Robin his sword before he dies, asking him to take it back to his father. His father is a blind old man who's trying to defend his land against the crown, which is especially bad now that King John the Ass is on the throne. Robin basically comes to England pretending to be Sir Locksley, and Locksley's father even asks him to keep up the charade so that Locksley's widow Marian won't lose all of their land. After this, it all builds up to the typical big battle scene between the British and the French, and although King John fools everyone into thinking he's going to do the right thing, he refuses to sign the Magna Carta in the end, and he's jealous because everyone loves Robin Longstride and still thinks he's a flaming douche. Gee, I wonder why. So he declares Robin an outlaw. So that scene from the trailers with the sheriff trying to put up a notice and asking for a nail, and then the arrow comes in, yeah, that's actually at the end of the movie, which is why I called it kind of a Robin Hood prequel. Robin Marion and his men wind up hiding out in the forest with their army of feral 10-year-olds, and then Worf shows up and is all like, "Captain, I must protest. I am not a merry man." Yeah, it was weird. Okay, I'm fucking with you, but it does end in a way that leads it open for the typical Robin Hood myth, except, of course, the part about King Richard returning. Because it's before all that. The main villain is Geoffrey, the British traitor, and the Sheriff of Nottingham is a minor character at best. I like the action in the movie, which is pretty damn good, and for once, a movie accurately portrayed the way an arrow flies through the air, which was a nice touch. The way it was filmed was a typical devoid of color style that seems to be all the rage these days, but it worked for this film, I thought. If I had to say I had a problem with any one part of the movie, it's probably where King John convinces everyone to follow him into battle by swearing to sign the Magna Carta on his mother's life. Come on, they fell for that? He doesn't even like his mother. That being said, it's far from perfect, but a good film. It seems that every Robin Hood movie is okay, but saddled with a few crippling flaws. Except for Men in Tights, that movie ruled. But this one's flaws are pretty minor, probably because it's telling a completely different story, one that predates the typical Sherwood Forest stuff. I'll give the movie an 8 out of 10 and recommend it.